Welcome back to the all-new BEATZ Radio. Today's show is brought to you by DWI, Dealing with Issues Youth Mentor Prevention Program. To be a sponsor, go to our Instagram page, The Not So Christian to Me Show. If you guys are just now joining us, we're talking about the result of being a good leader with Pastor Broussard of Greater Pearl Light Church, along with another special guest, drum roll, with Houston's own gospel worship leader, Butler. How you doing, Keith?
Great. How about yourself? How's it going?
We're doing good. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So our topic today is the result of a good leader. So what is your definition of a good leader?
Good leader, I believe a good leader is able to motivate, encourage, teach, lead, and at the same time, I'm maybe in saying make disciples might be strong, but putting people in position to be successful in what it is. So like in what it is that I do, and understudy a successor, for someone to be able to handle in my absence, to me is being a good leader, and to be able to train someone, to teach someone how to not necessarily do it like I do it, but so that it won't be missed. So my presence won't be missed, that everything still goes as smooth as possible.
Can you talk about some of those times when you were very effective in your role, like a particular time when you're like, okay, they actually getting what I'm trying to put across? I'm a perfectionist, so I don't think nobody gets it. but I think that my assistant director's Sister Harvey does a great job in my absence. She's willing to step up, even when I'm not absent. She's willing to step up and say, she calls me boss man. Oh, boss man, you can chill today. You can take it easy. She knows that I'm not feeling good or whatever the case may be. She steps up with the women, with the men, and sometimes the youth. She steps up, and we really don't miss a beat. Services usually just as effective as it is if I was there. Okay. And to me, that's a good leader. I can sit back and hold my chest out and say, yeah, okay, the women threw that. Did you train them?
You had something to do with that.
Exactly. Now, speaking of absent, a little birdie told me that you traveled a lot to minister to other choirs and stuff. So, is that true? Do you travel a lot? I heard you travel back and forth.
I can't say a whole lot, but lately it's been quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's an honor.
It's been quite
that's an honor.
Definitely.
To, go to other cities and I'm here. Yeah. I can't play down.
It really is. And any opportunity to minister and again pour into people what it is that you have, that God has given you, is definitely a blessing. It's tiring sometimes, but if it's something that you love and something that God calls you to do, you go for it. You do it. Just do it.
You don't complain. You may complain, but you say, God forgive me for complaining.
You get tired. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful to do that. It doesn't matter how far. It doesn't matter how close. I'm just grateful to be able to share music ministry with people all over the country. I mean, this is something I've been doing. I've been teaching choirs since I was 11, so 42 years.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
Now, how long have you been at Greater Pearl Light?
I've been at Greater Pearl Light 10 years last month.
Okay.
September 10 years. I came in September of 09. I joined the church. Okay. Well, actually 10 years in July, but I've been working as a musician, choir director since September of 09.
So, what made you want to do that? I mean, how did your transition from being 11 years old to where you're at now? Tell us a little bit about how that all started. I know you said you started at 11 directing. Well, I know it could be some times that you was like, I don't know if this is for me. So I just want to know when did that transition when God put it on your heart to say, you know what, this is where you need to be.
Boy, that's a transparent moment. I don't know if I should tell that. The moment was, I was in Chicago when I knew that it was for me. When I knew there's two times. The first time is that I had a dream, because I play as well. Most people don't see me play, so they don't know that. But I play as well. The first time that I knew that music was for me is that I had a dream that a big grand piano closed on my hands.
And then, but I was still able, for some odd reason, I was still able to do what it was that I was supposed to do in this dream. So that kind of led me to directing.
Okay.
Because of that. So if I can't use my hands, what am I going to do? If my fingers don't work to play, where am I going? So then I started, in this dream, I was using my arms. To know that it was for me, and this is what God has called me to do, was in 1995. I was preparing for a concert. I had a professional choir in Chicago, Delegation for Christ Chorale, and I was preparing for a concert, and the police came to my house to pick me up for a driver's license suspension. Never in life had I ever heard of that.
Coming to your house?
Coming to my house. Yeah, coming to my house. Coming to my house for that. And it was really weird. So
That's a Chicago thing.
Don't do that.
They got a lot of extra time.
Got a lot of extra time on their hands. They don't want to fight crime. But this was so. I was in jail, literally in county jail for like 30 days. And my grandmother, maybe about 2 weeks in, I kept fighting and I was angry, I was mad, get me out of here, get me out of here. And my grandmother told me, she said, they came to your house. You wasn't even driving and you got picked up for suspended license. She said, let the Lord talk to you. There's a reason why you're here. Once I calmed down, she said, get out of the anger, you'll get out. When it's time, you'll get out. I just saw so many people in the spirit mind, so many people that needed talking to inmates, and so many people that went to church and just went the wrong direction. And the Lord showed me, like, okay, you need to minister to these people.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. I hear a lot of people talk about when they go to jail, they find Christ. They really find God when they're in jail.
Yeah,
I guess because you don't have no choice but to talk to God at that point.
Well, I guess that's true. I had already been in church. I was already that way, but he showed me how powerful or how important, not how powerful, but how important it was to be able to reach people through what it was that I did. So many people do it. They do it for fame. They do it for Stellas. They do it for Dove Awards. They do it for Grammy Awards. But that's not the way that God gave it to me. He gave it to me was to win souls to Christ. At the end of the day, my very first meeting for that choir, I said, hey, our mission is to win souls to Christ. I even tell the choir, Greater Pure Life, our mission is to prick the heart of the sinner to come to Christ and encourage the heart of the saint to that they can go on. That's my personal mission in music. And if I don't do none of that, I fail. And I take that really personal. So as a leader, I instill into others the same thing. So if you don't come to do nothing else, it's to win souls to Christ.
Yeah.
Pastor told me one day at a meeting that I preach for people to come to Christ. Well, I do the same thing. I minister through songs so people can see Christ. Now, my job is to get them prepared for pastor. So I soften the heart, prick the heart. I prick the heart.
Right.
Pastor get them. Then once he has them, then we both work together, I guess, to try to keep them. So that's what.
It's like an appetizer.
Appetizer. There you go. I'm an appetizer.
Right. He's a full course.
Right.
There we go. There you go. So before you became minister of music, were you doing anything else, like career-wise? Were you doing anything else before you started focusing all your attention on music?
Well, yeah. Man don't work, he don't eat. So
was there a particular job? Or particular
I was more in customer service, call center type of stuff. That's
so you were still serving. You had
there you go.
God was working with you.
I was still serving. I never looked at it. There you go.
God been working on you the whole time.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
It makes you think about when you get to a certain point in your life, you look back on what God brought you through and you say, oh, that's what you was doing, God. I'm so sorry. Oh, God, you was working on me the whole time. It was a purpose. You have a purpose.
That's what God does. I mean, it's like those who are Sunday school students, we're talking about Moses right now. God prepared Moses through leading sheep to deal with his people. And so a lot of times in our early life, God has us doing certain things to set us up for what He eventually wants us to do. Yeah.
How important is it to prepare the choir for the sermon?
To prepare the choir for the sermon? I don't necessarily prepare the choir for the sermon. I prepare the choir for the worship, the whole worship experience. There are times that pastor will say, hey, you know, I'm preaching about this, you know, come on, kind of give me something. But most of the time, I just prepare for the whole worship experience. Whatever, you know, I'm kind of like him. Whatever God gives me. And there are them few times when we line up and we haven't talked at all, you know, and we just line up. So that's one of them Sundays that you be like, wow, you know. But I prepare the choir for worship, for the worship experience itself, not necessarily for the sermon.
Now, has there been a time that you had to deal with a difficult choir member? I'm sure they're not listening.
I plead the fifth. No, there are many times. I can't say that I have to deal with difficult choir members, because as a person they might not be difficult, but that day might be difficult. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it might not be the person itself, but maybe the week or the course of the day that has made it difficult. I can't say over the last few years that I've dealt with difficult choir members. I can't say that, but there are different difficult days, and they bring it with them. So sometimes you have to figure out a way to penetrate, kind of get them to loosen up or whatever the case may be. You know, we laugh, we have fun, we get the job done, but we laugh, we have fun. Sometimes we cry, sometimes we praise, sometimes we just talk. It just depends on, you know, whatever the Lord leads, wherever the Lord
Sometimes
leads.
they just need a hug. Yeah, you'll be surprised on what a hug can do.
Yes,
You especially had a bad day.
Yes, ma'am.
And, you know, and they probably have it in their head like, I don't even want to go to choir, so they had a bad day. So they already going in there, don't really want to be there because they had a bad day. And so sometimes by you talking to them, like you say, you talk to them and just, you know, giving them some encouraging words. And then once they start singing, you know, the Holy Spirit will come over their life and they feel, you know, brand new all over again.
That's what I pray for. Again,
right.
one of the missions is encourage the heart of the saint that they can go on.
Exactly.
Now, Pastor, does the choir make the sermon easier when you get up there and preach?
Oh, at Greater Pure Light, yes. Yeah, I stand in awe of Keith, and I tell him that all the time. What he does with our choir, and what he does with the congregation. I mean, because as he said, it's his job to prepare the people for the word that's coming forth, and I just don't know of any particular Sunday that he didn't do that, or they didn't do that, and so we've always worked well as a team. And so to answer your question, he does an awesome job in preparing the congregation for the word that's coming forth. And as he said, there's sometimes when he knows what the sermon topic is, but then there are other times when I forgot to tell him, or whatever the case may be, and it just so happened I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, how did he know? You know? Yeah.
So it hits you just like the members, like, wow, how did he know I was going through that?
Right.
It's like, how did he know
right. I was going to preach that, yeah.
Right. Wow, okay.
Does it sometimes, well, for me at church sometimes, the choir, like, they expand into, like, the service part of where you're preaching? Like, has that happened where it's just, like, you get sort of caught up in the moment, you don't know what somebody's going through, but the Lord's just telling you to, like, just expand to go on.
Just keep going.
Yeah, just keep going. No matter what happens.
Oh my God, there have been times in our church that we didn't get to preach because the Spirit just came in like a mighty rushing wind and did what and the evidence of it being the Spirit is that when we open the doors of the church, people they don't just come, but they come in sobbing and, you know, profusely crying because they were just so touched by the music ministry. And I think it all goes together. I mean, Keith's job is to do it from the music standpoint. My job is to do it from the preaching standpoint, but actually they go together. Yeah.
So Keith, tell us a memorable moment in ministry of music. Like, is there a time that you was like, wow, this is a powerful day, this is a powerful song, or something had happened, like the Holy Spirit had took over to the point you're like, wow, Like, I did my job. You know, job well done, you know.
Well, it's happened here, but one of the most memorable moments for me in ministry, and there's two, and I'm going to talk about two of them really briefly. The first one was and both of them were up north. They're not necessarily down here. Not to say I haven't had any, but for ministry, for me, these were like, okay, God, this is what you told me to do. This is why I do it. I did a concert at my old high school. In my old high school, Butler Force and Delegation for Christ Chorale, which was my choir, was ministering there. And there was a young lady that came to me after the concert, and she walked up to me with her parents, and she was just crying. She had these like crocodile tears. She was just like, and we sang a song called "In Him There Is No Failure. I've seen Him work, and He won't fail." And she came up to me, and it just took over the whole, auditorium. And God was with us. And she walked up to me and she said, "I stopped believing in God." She said, "But you sang that song, and now I believe in God again." Wow. That was it for me. I was just like, "Oh!" I cried.
Yeah.
I mean, I just went crazy because that was powerful. That was powerful. Another time was that I did a workshop at a college, northern Illinois in DeKalb, and the Lord moved, and I stopped singing, and the Lord just prayed. And then actually, my wife's cousin was the piano player and the chaplain for the choir at the time. I didn't know that at the time that was her cousins, but we found out later that was her cousins, and the Lord just told me to stop singing and call an altar prayer, and to see 250 young folk, college students, come to the stage asking for prayer and wanting prayer at that moment was like, wow, this is it. And some people can get the big head about that, but for me, it was like, Lord, you keep showing me that this is what it is I do. So you can reach masses and don't necessarily, I guess for me, it was like you can reach people and don't have to be a preacher,
right,
so to speak, because you are given word through what it is that you do.
Because God speaks through all of
God
us,
speaks
different type of ways.
Different type of ways. And I guess that was memorable for me. There's no one specific memorable moment at Greater Pure Light. I mean, it happens, but that was in my ministry, in my music ministry, that was the most powerful.
Okay, for those of you guys who are just tuning in, we're talking about the result of being a good leader with Pastor Darrell Broussard of Greater Pure Light, along with Houston's own gospel worship leader, Keith Butler.
In terms of a special thing that we're working on is what we work on every week, and that is winning souls for Christ. And, at our church, I'm not going to sit here and say every time we open the doors of the church, someone comes down the aisle. But I don't measure church growth by how many members you have. I measure it by how many lives are being changed. And so we're in the life-changing business. We're the people business, and we want to help change people's lives. And I'm sure Keith can attest to this. There are times when, I'll get a phone call during the week, Pastor, I don't know if it helped anybody else, but it sure did do something for me. And that makes it worthwhile. And these are people who are already saved. But saved folk go through it also.
Right.
Sometimes worse.
Yeah. And so to be able to hear from someone that you really encouraged me with that song, or you encouraged me with that message, that makes it worthwhile.
Yeah.
So how can we find you guys on social media?
I'm on Facebook, Keith Butler. I'm on Instagram as well, Keith Butler DFCCCEO.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook also. As a matter of fact, I do a little piece every Tuesday at 9:30 where I pour a fresh cup of brew.
I like that.
And people think I'm pouring coffee, but I'm pouring Broussard. The word God pours into me, I'm pouring out to the general public. And so Darrell Broussard. We also have a television ministry on Sunday mornings. We stream, but we do have a television program on WB39 at 5:30 every Sunday morning, which is a tape of one of our previous church services.
Okay.
Yeah, Twitter, all of that stuff, and so.
Okay, good. So you guys have.
He got a fresh cup of brew. I just teach Sunday school.
I'm
She's a part of my Sunday school class.
He had to add that in there.
No, I'm a Sunday school teacher. I'm very happy about it.